Hello lovely people, welcome to the Prime Strings Violin School. I'm Henriette and this is lesson 29 in the Violin Class for Beginners Crickboom course. Today we are going to learn to cross strings, and by the end of this lesson you should be able to cross from one string to another comfortably and confidently with the correct techniques. So let's go ahead and let's get started. And today we're looking at exercise 46 and 47 in the red book, and that is exercise 66 and 68 if you have an older version of your book. First we're going to start without the book though, and we're just going to think about what makes a good string crossing. And we're going to start on the D string today and then cross to the A string. So let's have your violin up on your shoulder. And you can just hold your left hand right here. Let's now start with a long bow on the D string, and while you do that I want you to focus on your elbow on your right hand side. So your right elbow. So let's play that long D string. Here we go. And let's hold it here for a moment. Now can you drop that right elbow down so that your bow crosses to the A string. Now think about the difference between the level that your right elbow had here and there. And that is what we're going to focus on today. Now let's play a whole long bow on the A string. And leave the bow on the string at the end, so at the heel of your bow. And now can you raise your right elbow until you can see. You can look here and see your bow go to the D string, and you have travelled about this far with your right elbow. Can you see that? So we're on the D string. Let's play a long straight bow now. And just hold it there for a moment and drop your elbow down. And what I want you to get used to is that your elbow leads the way. So it's not my bow that goes to another string, because then I'm more likely to use my hand, you see. But I want you to focus on your elbow that takes your arm down. And this way you adjust the level of your string with your bow. So let's play another A, and we'll do that once again. Stay on the string at the heel of the bow here. Now lift that elbow up again so that your bow goes to the D string, and you might even practice that a few times. So your hand, as it were, is an extension of your arm and your elbow. So if I move my elbow, my hand and my bow changes as a result of that, you see. Let's do that one more time. Long bow on D. Hold it here, drop your elbow down, and we'll play the A. Smashing. Now today that might feel a little bit strange that your elbow does that work, but you will soon become familiar with it, and you will be able to judge the level of the strings by the level of your elbow. And we've got a nice seesaw little exercise for that. Let's place your bow on the D string, but this time in the middle of your bow, and without moving your bow, what I'd like you to do is just lift your elbow up and then drop it down, and we're going to make much bigger expanses like that, up and down and up and down like this. And have a look now at the contact point here where your bow is in contact with the strings. And you can see that your bow obviously goes from the E string here, and when you raise your elbow you go to the G string and back. See if you can get used to that. What does that feel like? Move your attention to your elbow without looking at it perhaps, and just getting to know that feeling of your arm. There we go. So now when we play from the D string to the A string, this movement of course is much smaller. Can you see that? And that's why we're practicing the exercise as well, so that you can practice it on much bigger movements, so you get a feel for it, and then you can fine tune it when you play on the D and A strings. Now let's take a look at exercise 66 if you have an older version of the book, or 46 if you've got a red book. So in this exercise we're going to start on the D string and we're going to practice those string crossings, and you can see you hold that D, the first note of your exercise, for 3 counts, and then you've got 1 count rest. And when you've got 1 count rest, when your next note is a different string, you can use that time to adjust your elbow. So let's get started on the D string, and here we go. Let's get started, and 2, 3, leave the bow on the string. Now drop your elbow down. This is your 4th count of that bar, and now we'll play 3 counts on A. 1, 2, 3, hold it here. Now since my next note in the music is an A again, I don't need to do anything with my arm. I'm staying on the same string. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, hold it there. Now lift your arm up to go to the D string. You can actually look at your point of your bow and look at the string. Are you hitting it all right? Ready? And 1, 2, 3, stop. This is my 4th count, this is my rest. And my next note is a D again, so I don't need to do anything with my elbow at all. Here we go. And 2, 3, stop. Drop your elbow down because my next note is an A. 1, 2, 3, stop. 1, 2, 3, rest. Lift your elbow up. 2, 3, rest. Awesome. So I want you to play this exercise in a super slow way so that you've got lots of time to think about what's happening to your elbow. That way you'll learn it the fastest. So that gives you the fastest progress, you see. Shall we play this exercise again? Now this time I want you to give yourself instructions like I've been doing for you in the previous playing. Now start to think for yourself, thinking, am I changing or am I not changing my elbow levels? Let's get ready on the D string. After 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. Leave the bow down. Drop your elbow. 2, 3. Rest. 2, 3. Rest. 2, 3. Rest. 2, 3. Rest. 'That is coming along beautifully. Well done. There are a few more things that I'd like to make you aware of. First of all, it may happen that once you play your long bow and you hit about the middle of the bow, you're starting to shake. And that's quite common, so I wouldn't worry about that if I were you. So if that happens, so you go here, stop the bow, drop your shoulder down, and then continue the bowstring. Now, when you practice that and you play, you get some shakiness, it means there is tension in your upper arm or in your shoulder. So by just stopping there at that moment when the shaking occurs and dropping it all down, you are focusing on trying to relax that tension. This is no overnight cure. If some people shake more than others, and it's quite common, honestly, it happens quite a lot. Over time, you'll find that you start to shake less. So don't expect any great results by tomorrow, but over 2 to 3 weeks, you should be able to anticipate when you feel that tension rise in your arm, and anticipate whilst you're playing that you can drop your shoulder or your upper arm a little bit more. Okay, now Something else that I want you to focus on when we play this same exercise one more time is that your bow strokes are going to be straight. And what you want to do is try to stretch your arm forward. So often I see this, and then people say to me, I can't actually change very well from one string to another. And you can see why that is, you see, because my bow's not completely straight. Whereas if I go straight and I push my bow arm forward, you get that lever much better, you see. So let's aim for that. Let's play it one more time. Really focus on stretching that bow arm forwards. I'll count us in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lovely job. And you're becoming much more aware of what you're doing with your arm, and that is a good thing. Well done. So when we look at the next exercise, which is exercise 47 in the red book and 68 in the greenish book, not only are we going to change strings, but we're also going to add some fingers. So what you want to do is to try to read ahead as much as you can. I've told you in the past many times that violin playing is multitasking, and it helps a lot when we already look through the music so that we know what's coming up, and it will make multitasking a lot easier, I think, if you know that. So we're starting in bar 1 on a D and an A, and while you play those notes, you can also see they are written as minims and not as 3-count notes where we're playing 2 counts on every note this time. While you play that first D, you want to try and drop your elbow down so that you reach the level of the A string. Then on the bar line, you don't have to do anything because you stay on the A string, but then whilst you play that A in the second bar, you want to make sure that your elbow gradually comes up so that your bow tilts over towards the D string, you see. And then you stay on the D string in the next bar, in the third bar, but you add your first finger. So let's have a go, shall we? So have your finger line in place, your thumb, check your tennis ball as well. And we're getting ready on the D string. I'll count us in for 4, and I'm going super slow because each bow stroke only lasts for 2 counts now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Drop your elbow. Raise your elbow. Finger. Drop your elbow. Two. Drop your elbow. Raise your elbow. Drop your elbow. Awesome. Now that, when you think about all these techniques, is a very difficult exercise. You're already getting a really good result because you're well prepared, but shall we just practice that again? Now, if you're already slightly further advanced because you may be a restarter on the violin, I would urge you to try and leave your fingers down on the D string if you possibly can. So you want to make sure that you create a kind of tunnel underneath your fingers here so that the A string can ring freely. If you find that too difficult to achieve, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just leave it and take your fingers off. But if you already can do that, that is a slightly better technique still, you see. So here we go. Let's get ready on the D string after 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Drop your elbow. Raise your elbow. 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 Awesome. Really clever playing. So this way you are very aware of all the techniques that you use. And yes, that might take you a little longer because you're thinking about everything, but you're making so much better progress compared with when you just go in and play that. So we practice a lot of techniques at this stage of your playing, and that is a good thing. So allow yourself the time to develop your techniques. For that reason, I'd like us to play that one more time, shall we? So it just gives you more time to think about things. Now this time, if you've already managed to leave your fingers down on the D string, great. Try to make sure that you bow a little bit straighter again this time. I'll count us in for 4. So let's get your left hand ready. 1, 2, 3, 4. Terrific, really good practice. So let me give you a few hints and tips in troubleshooting. If you can't manage this, that's fair enough, because this, like I said, this is one of the more difficult exercises at this level of your playing. What can you do if you can't hit that A string without touching it with your left hand fingers? It may be that your fingers are a little bit too flat on the strings like this. So in that case, if that looks like you, see if you can get more on your fingertips. Now, how can I get more on my fingertips? Look what happens to my wrist. If my wrist goes like this and I accidentally forget about pushing that away, check out the level of my fingers. So my wrist is this way, my fingers are flatter. Okay, so if I push this wrist out, I encourage my fingers to come more from above, so more upright. It might be that the level of your knuckles is below the level of the fingerboard. So check out this level here. That encourages my fingers to go flatter. I don't want that. So what you can do, if this looks like you, is raise all of this, curve your fingers more, so that this line of knuckles here is level with the fingerboard. Okay, what if you get a sound like this? Your timing isn't quite right. Changing the level of your strings and changing your bow up and down bows, you see. So there is another complication there, maybe, that you want to time it just right. So you want to perhaps count a little bit more intensely, thinking 1, 2, now go. And this is one of the reasons also why we play so slowly, to allow you to get your timing of your string crossing just right, because you have to have your string crossing, so the level of your bow, and your bow change, up and down bow, exactly at the same time. Now that gives you a little bit of food for thought, I would think. I'm hoping you are enjoying playing this piece at the same time. That's the ultimate goal, of course. But with violin playing, there's a lot of techniques to think about. So I hope I haven't pushed you too hard with all these techniques, but give it another go, and we'll do that together in a second before the end of your lesson. So now I want you to pick your focus according to what is the most difficult aspect for you as an individual, because this video obviously is made for a lot of different people. So now I want you to pick that aspect, maybe the timing, or maybe the string level, or maybe the straight bowing, which is most relevant for you. So here's our final play. 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. If you have, please write about it in the comments section down below this video. And I very much look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Goodbye.